Hello everybody, this is boffyrox, and this is going to be my first video besides my console wars rant that I just kind of talk about something that's beginning to frustrate me with the industry of video games. This footage came from the remastered version of Halo 2 on Xbox One, and yes, I used this footage for the sake of irony. I know how ridiculous it is for this to be on the screen, so guess what? I put it on the fucking screen. So I want to take you guys back on a trip back to 2013. 2013 was a fantastic year for games, and there was just good games across the board for a bunch of different consoles and systems. And at the end of the year, I was staring down three games that I personally felt all deserved to be Game of the Year. Those three games, in my opinion, were Bioshock Infinite, Grand Theft Auto 5, and The Last of Us. All three of them were amazing in their own right, and all three of them deserved to win Game of the Year as far as I was concerned. And even though it was a difficult decision for me personally, and I was happy with whatever won, it got me really excited to go into 2014. 2014, we're getting into the first full true year of new hardware, considering the three other games had come out on 7, or in the Xbox 360's case, 8-year-old hardware. It was amazing to consider what the new hardware was capable of. Some people claim that the new hardware was underpowered, but underpowered or not, there was still an improvement on the 7 to 8-year-old hardware. And so it was just, wow, what could we possibly make with this? Stories are not hardware limited, so they can make a good game on the new hardware in the first few years, even though it very rarely happens. So 2014 came and went, and some of the best games for 2014 was The Last of Us Remastered and GTA 5 on Xbox One and PS4. What the fuck, guys? Seriously? Some of the best games of 2013 were also the best games of 2014? Now, I'm not going to sit here and discredit the games that actually did come out for 2014 that were solid games. There were good games, don't get me wrong. Dragon Age Inquisition, Shadow of Mordor, Far Cry 4, The Stick of Truth, Alien Isolation. There were very good games that were released during the year of 2014, but there were also a lot of really bad games. And the bad seem to outshine the good, because even with those 5 games that I listed, the bad games, Destiny, we're sitting here on a $1.5 billion game that took to create, that they spent $500 million to make and advertise and sell this game to us, and then it wasn't even fucking finished. Like, what is that crap? I really don't want to start playing Destiny again, even though everybody that does play it that I'm friends with tells me that it's improving. I don't want to get back into it. Call of Duty Advanced Warfare. It's another fucking Call of Duty game. They're not doing anything different. Black Ops 3 is going to be the same deal. It's nothing necessarily wrong with it. It's just the same formula. If you like the formula, by all means, go get it. But I personally am getting tired of it. Titanfall. What's advertised as a Call of Duty killer doesn't have any difference or distinguishability between the single player and the multiplayer. The single player was exactly the same thing, only instead of playing other people, you play bots. I'm sorry, but there was another game called Brink that did the exact same thing, and guess what? Brink sucked. It was super hyped. It was shown as this amazing game, ironically enough, with parkour tendencies, and ended up sucking because there was no difference between the single player and the multiplayer, and the game modes were just really bad, but that's beside the point. I'm not getting into a review of Brink. We got Watch Dogs, shown off as this going to be the thinking man's Grand Theft Auto. I think that's one of the ways that they were advertising it. The thinking man's Grand Theft Auto. Fuck off. That hacking utility was hard to pull off in certain times, and honestly, it was super boring when you could just blow shit up. Like, I mean, why would you waste your time even hacking stuff when you could just blow stuff up with guns and call it good? And then there was the whole graphical debate and everybody getting pissed off about that, but whatever. The Elder Scrolls Online, that finally came out for fucking consoles a couple months ago, but it actually, it's more than a couple. Last month, it came out for consoles. Sorry. But the game itself actually came out on PC in 2014, and it just was like super underwhelming when you come off of Skyrim and you're like, wow, this is an amazing game, and then you go to the Elder Scrolls Online, it's just, really? This is a really poorly made MMO. Like, why would you want to do this? The Evil Within, hyped up as supposed to be this return to survival horror, and it just absolutely it disappointed everybody. There were a lot of people that didn't like The Evil Within, myself personally, because I felt the ending was ridiculous. Now, I enjoyed the DLC, but that's beside the point. The game itself should have been solid. I feel like there was too many unanswered questions. And then the Master Chief Collection. That was a horrible launch. The game just didn't work for months after its release. And then when it finally did start working, most people who were excited for it, myself included, lost all enthusiasm for it. And that's partially the reason why I decided to throw this footage up as well. The point of what I'm trying to get here is, though, that 2013 was awesome. 2014, very few good games came out, and the best ones that did come out were remakes of 2013 games. My mistake. And so far with 2015, we're not exactly doing a very good job of releasing unique games that were solid. Like Arkham Knight just didn't fucking work for PC. And for consoles, it was just like playing a lot of tank missions. Why would you want to do this? Why would you want to play in the Batmobile for half the game? Now, I know it's not half the game, but it's a lot. It's ridiculous how much. Evolve. It was the asymmetric multiplayer was a cool idea, but there was very little replay value to it once you got past the first few monsters and you're like, oh, well, why am I still doing this? Or if your teammates sucked and you didn't have any friends to play with, it just didn't work. Or the Order 1886, it wasn't even a game. It was an interactive movie. Like, I'm not really too thrilled with anything that 2015 has put out for me to play so far. But the thing that's getting to me is we've got all these games coming out, and the best games that are coming out are still remastered games. Now, why are these remastered games coming out so far in 2015? Just 2015. I'm not even going to include anything else. We've got Final Fantasy X remastered for the PS4. Now, this one was remastered for the PS4 from a remaster of the PS3, so it's like double dipping. It's triple fucking dipping. Because you got the original, you got the first remaster, then the second. You got the Borderlands Handsome Collection, Majora's Mask 3D, God of War 3, which isn't out yet, but it will be soon. Journey, Dark Souls 2, Saints Row 4 Re-Elected, Resident Evil Remastered, Devil May Cry Definitive Edition, Devil May Cry 4 Special Edition, Final Fantasy Type 0 HD, Xenoblade Chronicles 3D, Homeworld Remastered, State of Decay Year 1 Survival Edition. Now, what the fuck is that kind of name? Grim Fandango Remastered, Fahrenheit Indigo Prophecy Remastered, Oddworld New and Tasty, Sayonara Umihara Kawase Plus, I think is what it says, Heroes of Might and Magic 3 HD version, and Duke Nukem 3D Megaton Edition. Now, this was a list that came from GameSpot, and I'm going to go ahead and throw a link down into the article to the article down below. But the point is, developers just keep making remastered games. And why are they doing this? Because it's easy fucking money. That's really the answer. It's easy money. They know they can get a quick buck and cash in on hard work that other people have already done, even if it is the same company that other people have done previously, and make an easy buck. Now, the real question that we need to figure out is, why, as consumers, do we keep buying them? Is it for the sake of nostalgia? Is it because we want to support our favorite games and have, and play through games that, we think are good and we want to continue to support? Is it to, maybe increase the longevity of a game? You could sit down and be like, oh, I remember this, and play it some more. And it's like, oh, yeah, it gives it more longevity. It gives it more hours that you can spend in whatever the world is. But that kind of just ties back into nostalgia. Seriously, why are we doing this? Why do we keep doing these? Now, Resident Evil Remastered is a perfect example of one that, in my opinion, never should have existed. Even though I played it for YouTube, you guys watched me do it. I went ahead and bought it. I even bought 2 copies for viewers and gave them out for free. Now, why did I do that? Because I enjoy Resident Evil. Should I have done it? Fuck no! I've already got like 3 copies of that game. Resident Evil Remastered, in my opinion, is one of the worst offenders on this list because the first game, Resident Evil, came out on PlayStation, right? And then they re-released it as the director's cut with new areas, new voice acting. I think there was some new weapons. I'm not really sure, but it came out again with new stuff. Then it was remade for the GameCube back, I want to say, in 2002, 2003. I'm guessing here. It might have been 2000. No, it wouldn't have been 2001. That would have been too far back. Probably 2002, 2003, I'm going to say. It was remade for the GameCube. And this one's, I'm just guessing on that year, honestly. And then they remastered it this year. They remastered a remake of a re-release of an original. What the fuck, guys? Seriously? And we keep buying it. I've got all 4 fucking copies. Why? I don't know. And it's beginning to irritate me that developers think it's okay, and I'm guilty of this, but they think it's okay to continue to push out the same stuff from previous years because they know people are going to buy it. I'm guilty of it. I'm sure most of you listening to this are guilty of this as well. You've probably bought games that you've already owned at some point in time, and it's not for any particular reason. Now, it's just it seems ridiculous to me that remastered games continue to exist. I do not believe remastered games in any way should continue to come out. We don't need to slap a new coat of paint on these games and re-release them and waste developers' time. In my opinion, I feel like we should take any game that deserves a remaster should not get it. It should just get re-released. Now, that sounds kind of fucked up, but hear me out here. I feel like for series like God of War has spawned 2 consoles and will probably inevitably spawn be on a 3rd console with the PlayStation 4. Or Halo. Halo's a good example too. Halo is on 2 consoles and it will soon be on a 3rd. Game series that exist like that, you definitely should find a more convenient way to access the earlier titles than rebuy old consoles. Metal Gear Solid is another good example. They did a Metal Gear Solid collection on the PS3 a few years back. I have no problem with that because they didn't waste their time remastering these games. They just took them, put them on the disc, or in the first game's instance, made it a downloadable code and said, "Here you go, guys, $50. You can play every single one of them." It didn't take really any time from them to do that. They made really easy money on it because they didn't have to do anything, and fans of the series or people who have never played the game before was able to access the older games on a newer console. I feel like that is totally okay. That is legitimate. That is a fair way to go about doing it. But if the game came out a year ago and you're remastering it for the new console, like in the case of The Last of Us, where it was on the PS3 and then it comes out on the PS4 a year later, that, in my opinion, is ridiculous. That is double dipping. That should not exist. Or in the case of Final Fantasy X, if you were gonna put it on the PS4, just fucking put it on the PS4. Don't waste your time with the PS3 or release it on both at the same time. You don't need to do this. We're gonna release it on the PS3 and then wait a few months. I don't even think they waited a full year before it came out on PS4. And they even told everybody, hey, this isn't going to come out on PS4. And guess what? It did. Just release it on both if you're going to release it on both. But the whole, we're going to put it on one console and then wait a year or something and put it on the other, that just is ridiculous to me. Especially since it's just doing this, you're remastering a remastering. That, the habits of the industry up to this point have begun to irritate me on a bunch of different levels, and remastered games is one of them. But I want to hear what you guys think. I personally feel like we should not support remastered games. If you've never played the original, then buying the remastered is totally fair and totally legitimate, and definitely go for the newest version if that is what you have access to and that is what has come out. I'm not going to tell you to go buy the gimped version or the inferior version just so you can play it on the first console that it came out on when there's very clearly a better option. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is the better option shouldn't exist. The developers shouldn't continue to remaster games unnecessarily just for a quick buck when that time and energy could definitely be put into making games better and making them more, I don't know, what's the word? Playable? There's been a lot of games coming out lately that haven't even been playable, so. Oh yeah, that's just my opinion on it. I don't enjoy the idea of playing remastered games. like I said, unless you've played them, you haven't played them before. But I want to hear what you guys have to think. What do you think about it? Do you feel like remastered games are a good way to pump money into the industry? Do you feel like it is a good way to show developers support for your individual titles in the hopes that they release a sequel? Or are you like me who thinks that they're worthless unless you haven't played them ever before and you're just now getting into the series? Or do you feel like let bygones be bygones? Don't live in the fucking past. Don't play these games at all. If you wanted to play them, you should have played them when you came out. And if you missed your opportunity, well, too bad. I don't think anybody's going to side with that one. But if you do, then, feel free. Go ahead and throw it down in the comments. If you agree with what I'm saying, throw a like down below. I really want to hear from you guys. This is boffyrox. I'm going to start doing these a little bit more regularly. So if you enjoyed it, go ahead and throw a thumbs up down below as well. And take care. Thanks for watching.